Maggie J, and these are my stories.
They call me Willy Wodka. It's meant as an insult, but I like the name from the start. Especially when you think about what else they could call me. My name is just Willy, and I'm an alcoholic. So they were right with the name, and I admit that I like to drink. Many people always try to hide that. They make up stories about why they have been so drunk on day XY. Oh yes, and on day Z too, of course. They look for excuses as to why they overslept, and they smell like a brewery horse at 7 o'clock on a Wednesday morning. It was an exception. It was a spontaneous party, and so on and so forth. Yes, Karen, it happens, but not twice a week. Nobody has believed you for a long time now. When it can finally no longer be hidden that Karen likes to suck on a hip flask, then comes my favorite part of the whole thing. The theories as to why you, of all people, are in such a situation. They are victims of their circumstances, victims of conditions they got into and can't get out of. Yeah. Blah, blah. Get a grip, Karen, and be honest for once in your life. You drink because you're an alcoholic. It's as simple as that. I could also tell you a story about why the successful Willy Baumer eventually became Willy Wodka. I could tell you about my dad, who always beat the shit out of me, about my mom, who always had uncle over when dad was at work, which was probably one of the reasons why he took his aggression out on me. But that's not the cause. It would be too easy if that were the case. Then I wouldn't be to blame for everything that goes wrong with me, would I? But I'm not like that. I drink because I'm an alcoholic. That's it. I like alcohol and the slightly dizzy feeling in my head when the percentages flood my bloodstream, and it doesn't matter whether it's 8 o'clock in the evening or 9 o'clock in the morning. I just like it. I have chosen this life. Admittedly, wandering around the country like a vagabond, a homeless person, was not entirely my choice. It's actually due to external circumstances, and no, that's not an excuse. Maybe I could have handled it differently, called the police, but at that moment it seemed like the only way out and I took it. Drinking just makes it a bit easier. Especially when I have another one of those days when I have to think about the reason why I'm moving across the country. The reason is Henry Wilson. He's actually a nice guy. I always liked him, and he liked me too. A few years ago, he bought the house opposite mine, and we often sat on the veranda of one of our houses in the evening, had a drink or a few more, and talked about life. At first, it was superficial, after all. You don't get straight into the most private topics with a stranger, but over the years we became friends. I told him how much money I had made on the stock market and that I was only still doing my job because the house had been so empty since Veronica had left me because I drank too much. And Henry told me about his hobby as well. I was shocked. No, shocked is not the word. I was stunned. I listened to Henry in silence as he told me what he did in his spare time. I clutched my glass so tightly that it almost shattered in my hand. Henry spent a lot of time on the internet. Not unusual for someone who worked in the IT industry, but when he finished his 8-hour shifts, he started working on his own projects. He talked about all the videos he had found. A cat with one eye burned out. Who the hell did something like that? A little puppy? How he kept falling on the floor because he couldn't hold on to his prostheses. At the end of the video, of course, he made it and ran around wagging his tail. But damn the poor dog. Someone had beaten him up with an iron bar so that the tortured animal's front legs had to be amputated. You could find a lot of bad stuff on the internet, but most of it left Henry cold. Hundreds lost in a landslide? No problem. 12 missing in a wildfire? Almost normal. An abused 5-year-old? Honey, pass the butter, please. But when violence was inflicted on animals, he simply couldn't bear it. It tore his heart apart. No matter how much the crippled dog wagged his tail and rejoiced in life, Henry simply couldn't stand the fact that there were people who harmed animals. So he made it his mission to find these people, and he was good at it. It was scary what you could find out about someone if you put your mind to it. And that's exactly what Henry did. He proudly told me about the videos he made of his own retaliations, as he called them. And one evening, he showed it to me. I'll never be able to forget what he did to the man from Denver who ran over a dachshund with a truck and laughed so hard that Henry smashed his laptop against the wall while watching the video. After Henry tracked him down, there was nothing more for the man to laugh about ever again. Oh no, he didn't kill anyone, if that's what you're thinking now. He paid a debt, an eye for an eye, or whatever it says in the Bible. In the video, Henry was seen beating the man into a wheelchair in a very unsightly way. After he had finished, he wiped the blood off the baseball bat. It was terrifying to watch. But you know what? Somehow it was also completely natural. Yes, I know what you're thinking now. Good Willy Wodka is out of his mind. But that absent-minded, almost dreamy look while he kept sliding the cloth over the wood, the blood dripping down onto his shoes, that was somehow… Yes, I can't think of anything other than the word natural. He was just a psycho, and beating someone up with a bat was just something you could trust him to do. And that was by no means the only video Henry showed me in the course of our friendship. I never found out how many times he had done it, but I didn't want to. If you know someone is crazy, you don't necessarily need to find out how crazy they are, do you? No, I wasn't interested in that. Of course, you might wonder why someone would tell their friend and neighbor something like that in the first place. But as you may have noticed, Henry is a psychopath. He's a nice guy, that's true, but he's also got a lot wrong in his head. Of course, I could have intervened. I could have gone to the police and told them what my dear, kind neighbor was up to. But why should I have done that? The bottom line was that it was none of my business, and somehow Henry was doing a good thing, wasn't he? And that brings us to why I'm telling you all this. One night, I woke up drenched in sweat because I remembered something. I had already completely repressed it, but the experiences with Henry brought the memory back to the surface from my subconscious. And since then, I have not been able to push it back into its old place. We were 14, so we were still children. Actually. But you should know better at that age. But we didn't. It started as a test of courage. Nobody dared at first, but when the first kitten stopped moving, we liked it, and from then on there was no stopping us. I'm not proud of what we did back then, but we were young and stupid. That's not an excuse because I'm still deeply ashamed ever since the memory of it started scratching at my insides again. But if I'm honest, it wasn't what we did that worried me. It was my friend Simon Johnson, my best friend at the time and also the one who came up with the idea of the kittens. He had been in prison for years, and rightly so, because his destructive rage had never abated, and he pretty much took it out on everyone and everything. Most recently, on his wife. Simon was born with a short fuse and, unfortunately, also with little intelligence because he also loved to make videos of his deeds, which eventually brought him into the courtroom. And finally, also on Henry's radar. Henry showed me one of Simon's videos one evening, and my blood immediately froze in my veins. That evening, I realized that Henry would also find the video of us and the kittens, because Simone's penchant for filming began at an early age. That was also the evening I packed a bag and disappeared. I just didn't know any other way out at that moment. Yes, that may seem cowardly, and I probably am. But believe me, I don't want to experience what I did myself. My life right now is not that bad, isn't it? I mean, I don't have to worry about money. I'm free and can do whatever I want. Well, almost. Because Henry is already looking for me. That's not a loose assumption. He let me know through Veronica. I shouldn't have called her. But sometimes you get nostalgic and look for something familiar. But it's better to know that you have to be careful. He will find me, I know that. The country is big, but unfortunately not big enough. And then I'll become one of his videos. But until then, I'll stay Willy Vodka and pursue my favorite hobby, drinking. Oh God. When the time comes and he finds me, I hope he kills me.
If you like what you heard, subscribe to my channel for a new story every week.